Hello, welcome to another ship review. Today we will talk about Worm. This is Buristas Pirate Frigate, another fairly controversial frigate that caused a lot of grief in the meta. I will tell you a short story, a short history of this ship. So it was redesigned with many other pirate frigates in 2014. And after the redesign, it was just broken. It was so overpowered that it was ridiculous. Basically, you couldn't do anything against Worm because it had so much tank and so much DPS that you couldn't kill a ship because the Worm would kill you first. You couldn't kill drones because drones had huge bonuses for HP. And you couldn't mitigate damage in any way because you're fighting against drones. So the ship was extremely strong and it had pretty much no counters. But then over the years, CCP slowly nerfed it directly and indirectly. So firstly, drone damage amplifier bonus was nerfed, and Worm got kind of an indirect nerf to the DPS. When the Worm itself was nerfed, CCP removed one of the slots, which is massive for frigate balancing. I have never heard of um, another measure like this, so you can imagine how strong it was, this ship. When we had Surgical Strike, which made DPS for close range guns higher, which made it easier to kill drones. And this was an indirect nerf for all drone ships as well. And when we had a switch to destroyer meta with release of Navy destroyers in 2022, which again was an indirect nerf for all drone ships because now you fight against destroyers more often, and destroyers are very good at killing drones. So you can actually clear even Worm drones these days. So it was like 4 or 5 indirect nerfs, and now this ship is still one of the top ones, but it's not broken anymore. So it's just good. It's still one of the most popular pirate frigates, and the win rates, as you can see, are quite solid. Well, I wouldn't look in the win rates that much these days for pirate frigates specifically, because we are not used as much as before, so the sample size is a bit small. But nevertheless, you get the idea that the ship is still very competitive. Okay, let's look at profile and performance. So you have bonuses to tank, to missile damage, and to drone damage, and drone tank as well. Usually this ship is a kiter, since in a kiting setup you sort of get around the weak control and you utilize these super strong drones as well. But Worm can scrum kite as well. It has a very competitive tank and DPS in scrum kiting range. The main issue for scrum kiting feats is that your control is really poor. So many opponents, if they know what they are doing, they can generally leave a fight, which is a bit of a problem. Now, as far as the engagement map goes, as you can see, you can fight anything, basically. Again, it's similar to Garmor. If you can escape the tackle on the Warpin by some of the stronger brawlers when you're pretty much good to go. And even when you fight against Tech 1 frigates, Tech 1 destroyers, many Navy frigates, you don't even mind to get caught on the warping, because unlike Garmor, even in a kiting fit, your tank and DPS is generally sufficient to kill like a Scrum kiting Navy frigate. You will not kill probably like a Brawling Comet, but you will kill a Scrum kiting Navy frigate. And destroyers, they cannot catch you on the warping, so once you establish the orbit and control, they can't really kill you. They can only chase you away. So again, huge engagement profile. The problem is, of course, that you cannot enter Navy complexes. So it can be a bit challenging to actually fight, to actually find ships that are available. So you will be only restricted to advanced complexes. Okay, now let's look at the most popular feats for Worm. Okay, so I will show you one main feat for the kiting worm, which is the main feat for this ship in general, and one feat for the Scrum kiting worm. And then I will also show you one of the rare feats, just as an example of how far you can actually push this ship if you really invest in it and bling it out. And why is it so ridiculous? So let's start with kiting worm. The feat is kind of similar to a kiting Tristan, so you don't really need guns here. You have space for one as a drone trigger, but it does not really matter. You can go with empty high slots as well. When Micro Warp Drive tank, Warp Disruptor, and 2 damage amplifiers. Now, a couple of points about unusual modules. So first unusual module is drone navigation computer. The reason why kiting worms often have navigation computers in medium slots is when you fight against multiple opponents and you need to switch targets for whatever reason. Your drones have to travel from one target to the other, and while they travel, your DPS is 0. So with navigation computer, you make your drones go faster, and you reduce the time when you are not dealing any DPS. And it's also quite crucial because people will shoot your drones while they travel. So the shorter the time you spend traveling, the more longevity you will get out of them. There are other options. The most common one is a tracking disruptor, so very typical set. In this case, Micro Warp Drive, Tackle, Tank, and Tracking Disruptor. This is primarily used against destroyers and in 1v1s. So you should just have Tracking Disruptor in your cargo and then you refit whenever you need it. The second point is about this rig, Ionic Field Projector. As with any pirate frigate, your targeting range is very short, and since you are a kiting frigate, you really want a little bit more. You don't need as much as a Garmor, but you need a little more when you have available. And in this case, you just extend it with Ionic Field Projector. Some people even extend it more than 48 kilometers, so sometimes you see double field projectors because your drone control range is 60 kilometers. So ideally you would like to have 60 kilometer targeting range to be able to aggress drones for the whole drone control range. But one is the minimum you need. And then the other two rigs are generally for tank. But again, you can fit them for agility and speed if you want more. But regardless, even if you fit for agility and speed, Worm will be a bit of a sluggish kiter. It's not really as many Caldari-like frigates, they are not really great at kiting. Finally, as for the drone selection, I would say use at least one tanking set. So maybe again, instead of Hobgoblins or Acolytes, use Caldari Navy Hornets, because they have the highest tank. And when the second set should be like a fast set of drones, so either Acolytes or Warriors. So I would say Caldari Navy Hornets plus either Acolytes or Warriors. And then the remaining one, whatever you like. Okay, now the Scrum kiting fit. The fit is very normal. Rockets, AB, tank, Scrum web, damage, and tank. Absolute cookie cutter stuff. A couple of notes. So here you can go with more tank, so you can fit damage control as well. Fairly similar trade-off. I generally prefer double DDAs because you already have a pretty decent tank. And the higher DPS is just more helpful to break active tank of your opponents. You can use Macro Warp Drive since your control is really abysmal anyways, and you have only one web and your top speed is really bad. You're not gonna really control anyone in Scrum range, so you can fit a Macro Warp Drive here as well, to give yourself a bit more mobility on grid. But you can go with Afterburner. So yeah, fairly standard stuff. And now just to demonstrate, sometimes you will meet worms with double medium shield extenders, and in general, if you wanna push close like Scrum range worm to the limit, it actually can get pretty ridiculous. So you can see here, this guy has 32,000 hit points. So this is like a cruiser level tank. It is with high grades and it is with links, which is possible if you want to fly like this. But it's not even some kind of ridiculous fit, right? It's just 50 million Iskin fits plus the ship, so 120 million. Pretty normal stuff. And you get cruiser-sized tank plus very respectable DPS. And imagine how it looked like back when Worm had 3 low slots instead of 2, better CPU, and before all of his nerfs to drone damage as well. So this is why this ship is so good. So tank to DPS is really unmatched if you wanna push it to a limit. Okay, so very good ship still. The only problem, as I mentioned before, is finding people who want to fight you, since now you are restricted to advanced complexes. But again, if you want to fly pirate frigates, Worm is definitely one of the frigates to consider. I think that cost efficiency is there and performance is there as well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next ship reviews.